Memories of the past, roots and tradition. Memories are cast in an Appalachian reunion. The taste of heritage, screen porch suppers, tales tall as a mountain ridge as we go deeper in the holler.
Hey everybody, so I have a special guest in studio. Get your hand out of there. We're back in Greenhouse Studio, and normally I would just be recording remotely with somebody, so they may be where they're at and I'm here. But today I've got somebody in studio, and it's somebody that's probably going to be famous for not being famous one day. He describes himself as the Carl Dean to my Dolly. Folks, I have Mick with me. Hey, Mick.
Hi, Jimmy.
How are you? Now, some of you may know him as MickOnThePorch. That's your handle, right? On social. And so, Mick, tell us a little bit about yourself. No, I'm just kidding. He really doesn't want to do this. He doesn't like being on camera.
I'm a young man of 50.
Much. We're not here to tell lies. But no, I just thought it might be fun for y'all to get to know Mick a little bit. I told you that he would be on here on the podcast, and at first he thought it was just audio and he didn't really mind so much until he found out this is going to go on YouTube as a video as well. So loosen up a little bit. You look a little...
I'm sitting straight.
You keep your posture. Your mama would be proud of you with your good posture. But Mick and I have, we've been together for, going on 16, I do remember. I'm saying going on 16 years this summer. And we've been married since 2013. And so this is my husband, for those of you that didn't know, that didn't get that in the earlier memo. And so we've built a nice little life here, I think, in East Tennessee. I'm happy with it. How about you?
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay. Well, that might be the end of this podcast or this episode. No, I say in the intro that, so I say as the episode ends that I thank Mick for supporting me so much in everything that I'm doing, because he really has. He's supported me through everything from just starting a blog to writing for magazines to writing a book, going on book tour, and he says he's the Carl Dean to my Dolly, because he'll go to some events, but he's not really a fan of them. It's not something he's excited about doing, but he wants to see me do well, and so he will come out and he'll come to some of those events. But anyway, that's enough about us. I want to get into a little bit about you and let everybody get to know you a little bit better. And so you grew up in where?
Greene County.
Greene County, Tennessee.
And that's where the accent comes from.
That is where the accent comes from. Yeah, you may notice I don't have much of an accent, but if he will talk a little bit more, you're going to hear his accent come out pretty good.
Because you were not really Southern.
Well, I was Southern. I am Southern. I've been in Tennessee longer than I was in Virginia, but I don't have the same accent that he's got. He is
really drawn.
His accent's more Southern and more Appalachian than mine would be. Very drawn. Very drawn. So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what that
in
area,
the hills.
What was that like? What was that like growing up?
It was rural.
And
that's the best I can pronounce it. And very out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And you had to drive at that time. Well, they were selling gas over at the local market, which was a very little market, very
little country store. Yeah.
So you could go over there about 3 miles and get gas, but if you bought
and what's that country store's name? What's it called?
Well, at that time it was Lloyd's, I think. But now it's Pettit's Market.
Which is really cool.
And it was Pettit's Market in the 80s and maybe late 70s. But at that time, you could go over there. A lot of farmers did and bought their feed and their, whatever you use.
It was a general store at that time, wasn't it?
Basically a general store.
You could get your feed. You could get a bologna sandwich. You could get a Coke.
The owner of that store was very good at knowing what the local people wanted, and he would let them put it on credit.
That was another important thing, because they had to live on credit a lot because their crops would come in, they'd get money all at once, or they'd go to market.
To get to Greenville, Morristown, which is the closest towns, it was 20 miles either way. to get to civilization.
And back then it was on gravel roads.
Gravel roads. You had to drive about 5 miles to get off the gravel road.
He did have running water and indoor plumbing, barely. But not everywhere that you lived.
Well, no, but not in the very beginning. But see, I barely remember that.
Yeah.
But no, at one time we did not have indoor plumbing when I was smaller. We did not have indoor plumbing. Well, I think they had it at one time, and then they had to move. And when they moved, because they were no longer working for the farmer that had employed Dad, and so when he got a different job that paid more, but farming was all they both knew really, they had to move off his property and out of the house. Because he wasn't working for them, he still helped them. So where they moved did not have indoor plumbing.
So back then,
It didn't have a toilet. It didn't have a bathtub. I do remember carrying the water to the indoors, and the roof leaked something awful.
As Dolly once said, we had running water.
Yes.
We had to run to get it and run back to the house
There was a creek nearby, but, it wasn't available for certain things. So, yes, I do remember those. Now, before I come along, they really were... Well, I'll tell this story because Jimmy knows it. But Dad's sister that was older and her husband came to visit them. And I wasn't born at that time. And they were living on a farm, helping people milk cows and all that. And very poor, didn't have, I don't even think they had electricity at that point. They may have. I was thinking they said they didn't. But I mean, it was a very poor way of living. And of course, it was in around 760.
No, it would have been 63, 63, early
63.
Yeah.
Because they come to visit, and getting back to that story, and Mom said that they asked him, his sister and husband said, do y'all not know what's going on? Well, they didn't have no radio, they didn't have no TV.
No paper.
No paper. They didn't know the world was on the brink of a disaster from the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
And so they were telling them all about it, and they're like, well, we don't even care. We're just trying to get through the day.
And they were excited that they were bringing them bologna.
And they brought bologna. And
light bread.
I mean, those things never concerned them because they didn't have no access to even know what was going on in the world. So, when you think the world's about to end and you get worked up about all that, go live without any access to internet, TV, radio, nothing, and you won't be near as worried.
I know, and that's something that we do today. And of course, we're here on.
And I do get on the news.
This is all forms of social and that kind of thing.
I don't get all worked up like I used to because when I see it, it just makes me mad sometimes. Usually it's to do with this state and Marsha Blackburn. Oops, that was political.
That's right. We're not going to get political.
Yes, she's the ringleader of beating down a group of gay people. But I quit reading that stuff. I see it. I read it, but I just don't get involved with it.
But yeah, they were. I mean, they were.
But yes, they
were poor, but they were happy.
In that area, it was even more rural then because that was before anything was developed in those areas. But the whole area where they were at, and I'm not going to mention the little place they were because there's nothing there. There's still a lot of people that live in the area, but it's really spread out. And
well, even the house you grew up in.
But
so
the house we grew up in.
They ended up buying a house in 1970.
Yes.
And the house that you grew up in then is where.
But they
your
had
mom still lived
people
until
coming
recently.
by. Yes, they had people coming by because Dad was still helping the farmers, even though he was working at a manufacturing facility at that time. Yeah. And so Dad was out there helping every time he was off work, and of course Mom at that point had started working and had been working, but they bought a house that was built in 1920, and that was in 1970. So I guess the old house looked a little bit better than it does now. But they thought coming from where both of them did, which Dad might have been worse off than Mom was growing up, but they both grew up.
Well, he had
poor.
a lot more brothers and sisters.
Yes,
so
he
there
had more
was
brothers and sisters,
yeah.
But they both came from very poor backgrounds, and I think a lot of people did. And of course, Mom come out of the mountains of North Carolina, out of Shelton Laurel, and then Dad was raised up in Geraldstown, which is another kind of rural area if you get back in there. But that's in Greene County. But of course, Mom grew up, and then I think Camp Creek. So they were used to rural living and living barely, you know, as far as getting by.
Well, and when they grew up too, that was started in the 40s, but then through the 50s and
50s
and into the 60s, and a lot of areas, even even in well-developed areas, people were still living pretty simply.
Yes.
Back then,
And
so
it was a very rural. Roads weren't paved, and if they were, it was broken up. And I mean, they used to say with their vehicles that, well, I got a new rattle today, and it's because you couldn't avoid the holes. You couldn't do over 20, 30 miles an hour without dodging one or hitting one. And I mean, it was rough.
Tell
Even
them
to
about
have
the
a
bridges.
vehicle.
Tell them about the bridges.
The bridges at the time where they lived, when they bought the house, on both ends had those old iron bridges that had the planks. You had to keep your wheels on the planks.
Yeah, not planks running across, planks running the length of the bridge.
So, especially in the wintertime, because nothing was done to those roads if it snowed, and it seemed like at the time in the 70s we got a lot of snow, and it didn't melt. It didn't melt for days, and of course those bridges were in shady areas, a lot of them. So there was two of them. If your wheels come off the planks, if you tried to get them back on the planks, you were really risking running into the bridge. Your vehicle would fishtail or whatever. If you tried to, you were better off just to not try to get it back on the planks. But it could cause a wreck if you got them off the planks.
Your aunt one time ran off the planks?
Yes, I was going to tell that. My aunt had brought her mother down. And
your mama?
My mama, for a holiday, and she got her wheels off those planks, and I mean, they thought they were going in the creek and scared them to death, but it tore that vehicle all to pieces. There wasn't a good way in, there just really wasn't. But if you drove it every day, you knew what you were doing, you knew not to do that. But that was the only person I ever knowed of that, and it probably was because she hadn't drove across it much. So it scared her to death when she got the wheels off the planks, and they thought for sure they were going in the creek. They didn't. My sister was scared to death, thought she was dying. See, I think that's funny.
Well, it's funny now, but back then probably everybody freaked out a little bit.
Well,
trying
my
to get
mama didn't seem to care.
She'd been through worse.
She'd been through worse. So, but yes, the whole road area at that point, now it's paved. There is that section on down from them that's even more rural, but closer to a better road, really broken up bad, and it really needs holes everywhere.
Well, and now the biggest problem is flooding whenever
the
it
flooding.
floods,
and of course
when the creek gets out.
Lick Creek was down in there, and used to in the 70s, 80s, even 90s, when it would rain a lot, like for several inches in a day or two or three, creek could always get out. You couldn't get out. You learned ways around it, because on both ends it would flood. It would flood the roads. You couldn't get out of them without risking being swept away. And there was some pretty bad ones.
And that was the same thing where I grew up. I mean, it would get out on either end of our road. But
there was one way you could go to get out, and that was about the only way. And even that sometimes was flooded, but they always managed to get to work. I can remember Dad going through it and it coming through his floorboard. Now, I ain't that stupid, but Dad didn't think nothing about it. I'm not doing that. And then, but the whole area, of course, now TWRA went and bought all that land, or most of it, and they've put drains or something in to keep that from flooding as bad. So the last time that the river got out, which was really bad, the creek didn't really get out and do anything, which was amazing.
The major flooding we had through East Tennessee a little over a year ago now. I guess it's going on 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah, because it was in the winter.
Yes. Irwin got it, Unicoi County.
Yeah, the river got out really bad, of course, and a lot of places
Cott
devastated.
County, and then on the way up to their house at the time, and still is, the river runs all the way up and down through there in a lot of places, and I had never in all of 50 years,
Yeah, we went up to check on his mom, and she was fine where she was at, her road's fine, but we couldn't get into that area.
That bad. I'd never seen it up that high. There was places I would have never thought would even think about flooding, let alone get close to it, that you were just shocked at how bad that was. And it ruined a lot of properties up there. There used to be a campground on up there going towards Warrensburg, and wiped it out. Any houses that were sitting there, I mean, it just destroyed that. And we actually knew people that owned up in Greenville that their homes were destroyed. So that was a bad, bad flood. And that was all from Hurricane Helene. But, their house always set up on the hill. And
so your house was never in danger. I mean, if it got to your house, everybody was devastated.
Yes. And Mama used to come down there and say, "Son, I ain't going to be on that side." And she always thought that, she's scared to death of water. So
Yeah.
you get her down there, but if the creek was out bad, she wouldn't come down.
So tell everybody a little bit about your mamaw. I've only heard stories. I never got to meet her, but
Well, I don't know where she was born actually. I think it was I don't know. We remember.
I think Greene County. I looked up some things. It was in Greene County area.
She lived up in Shelton, North Carolina for years in a shack, I'm assuming. And some of the people around there always made sure they had stuff to eat, or some of the farmers would help them because they were very, very poor. And then they moved around a little bit, and she had a hard life. But by the time I come along and knew who she was, most of that was gone. She still had, she didn't drive, so she never had expense of a vehicle, but she always had to rely on some sort of transportation from somewhere else. She cleaned houses for a living from the time I remember. She got paid like $10 a house. But
Wow.
she rode the bus into work, and then the people she cleaned house for would come into the bus terminal and pick her up, take her to their house. Then somebody else would come and get her and take her to their house. And then she would sit there sometimes for 2-3 hours to wait on the bus to take her home.
Wow.
Because she'd get done early, or she didn't have no more homes to clean. And that's just what she knew. But everybody knew her if they saw her because her clothes did not match.
I've heard some mamaw stories of how she dressed.
Checkered blouse with striped pants, or striped blouse with checkered pants, and I can tell you they were all bright colors, and socks, if you saw them, that didn't match with that.
She had her own sense of style. It didn't have to be
Well, it wasn't
anybody
style.
else's fashion. It was
No.
her fashion.
And I don't ever remember buying any new clothes. So, and it wasn't clothes that had been sewed together either. No, these are clothes she had. But then we found pictures, I don't know, a couple of years ago, last year or something, that she was dressed and everything matched. And I don't know at what point everything didn't match. And it wasn't because she didn't have them. She just thought they looked good together.
Yeah.
And she was proud
It
to
was
show you
probably
those.
things that people she worked for gave her over time and just said,
Well, I don't know. I just know
and
that.
she just thought, well, I like the colors
in
of
the
this and
years
that. And
that
she
I
just
was around
wear
her, I
it.
never remembered her going and buying any. So it was stuff she had had for years, but used to, at some point, she just didn't match them no more. But
Yeah,
she
what
was
did we
proud
recently
of it.
find a picture of her in probably the 40s, maybe
Yeah.
before your mom was even
Yeah.
born? Very well put together.
Yeah.
I mean, she
That
was
was-
the spitting image of the early 40s in
yeah.
that picture.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing.
Good shoes, had a dress on. Hell, I never knew her to wear a dress, ever.
It's kind of funny to see people like that you know
She wore shorts.
and they look like a different person
Yeah.
in those pictures. So you're the youngest of 3.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm the youngest in my family of 4.
50 going on 51.
Again, we're not lying about things on this
But
podcast.
it's how we look to people.
That's it. Okay, our perceived age.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. 52.
Glad it's not our mental age.
If I have to, 52, getting closer to 60.
But you've lived in Morristown now how many
I've been down
years?
here since 96, but I worked down here since 92. But I mean, we were, growing up, we were directly between Morristown and Greenville. So
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, seemed to like Morristown better, and always ended up down here doing something. And when I started working down here more, permanently, instead of Greenville, it was like, okay. And I never really did like Greenville. I worked in Greenville putting TVs together, which, they went to Mexico eventually.
Yeah, a lot of manufacturing that was in this area all moved out. And now they're trying to, it's coming back maybe a little
there
bit here
is
and there.
manufacturing here. Morristown is a manufacturing town, but it's also a place where I think is getting retirees and elderly that wants to get away from wherever.
Yeah.
It is
Like my aunt moving to Morristown to
you-
be closer
you
to
see a
us. I
lot
mean,
of,
it wasn't.
medical facilities going up. Medical facilities are going here, and Knoxville is 45 minutes to an hour away. So if you want a little bit better health care, or if you think there's better health care there, UT is down there. So you
And we've
do
got
have
the
that.
lakes all around us, so a
And
lot
the
of people
lakes are
come
here.
for the fishing
Yes.
and outdoor activities and that kind of thing. Lots of parks. We have lots of parks
yes,
around
lots
here.
of parks. So that's attractive
Yeah.
to a lot of people as they come into this area.
But you bought your first and only house
First and only house
here in Morristown. So you're
Yes,
still in the
that's
same
where
house.
we're living.
Yeah.
That's where Jimmy tried to push me out of and call it on top of
Tried
me.
to take everything I could. So when you bought it, were you ready to buy a house?
No, nobody's ever ready. I wouldn't say it's remorse, but you're like, well, hell,
what have I done?
How
much money did you have when you went to closing?
I had $1 left in the bank when I closed on the house, because it took, well, at the time it seemed like a lot. That you had, of course you still do, I think you have to have earnest money, you have to have down payments. And I think at the time, I want to say around $5,000, not closing, but total.
Yeah.
That it cost. And, that was from years and years of saving. And really and truly, I was shocked. But when I did get in, thank goodness it had been flipped. So somebody had come in and bought it and flipped it.
Right.
And I knew that after that, you shouldn't have too many things you have to repair or that you need to repair. And I think, 3 months after I got in it, I was washing clothes and the water come up in the bathtub. Somebody had forgot to connect a drain, and it was all stopped up, and had to get a plumber out here. But at that time, I think that was about $300. So other than that, I didn't have to do anything. Yeah. And the heat pump wouldn't work when it kicked in, and that was just something they'd forgot to do. But, few surprises.
Did you move in the summer or fall? Or?
It was in August.
So end of summer. So, yeah.
So when the heat come on in October or somewhere around in there, and it didn't get no warmer, it was a challenge getting somebody out here, because didn't know who put it in. Nobody wanted to come and do it.
And they were supposed to provide you with a stove, a range. Provided
with, at the time, a $300 stove.
Which could have been new at the time.
It would have been almost new.
Yeah.
And I think they got one out of some rental house, because it looked like $50 stove.
But you went how long without a stove after you moved in?
Well, I wasn't cooking much either.
Right. But still, didn't you say it was like 3 or 4 months or 6 months?
Yeah, it was like 6 months before I finally bought one. And it looked really good for a long, long time, because it's hardly ever used. And then I bought refrigerator, washer, and dryer all together. And that was at Rex Appliances. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but...
Where was Rex Appliances at?
It was up at the mall. The mall was already there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they built the mall in the 80s, of course. And they wouldn't, I don't know, I guess Home Depot and Lowe's existed. I don't remember when they built those, but... Right,
when those became more popular.
Yeah.
And about the only place to go get stuff like that now.
Yeah, that's the only place to go get stuff now. Yeah. So, but more stuff, I'm not, Jimmy knows, I don't like big cities, although I did like going to D.C.
That was fun.
But if I lived there, I probably wouldn't like it near as much.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy that. And I like to see small towns. And that's probably a reason, when you grow up in the country like I did, not around anybody, you don't see traffic and stuff, you just don't particularly care for even Knoxville. I'm not crazy about Knoxville. Don't want to live in Knoxville. We'll go down there occasionally.
Yeah, we just don't like the traffic or the crowds so much.
The crowds and the... elbow to elbow, no, I just don't enjoy that. And that's why Carl here doesn't go to too many events.
Yeah, because I've had to go to some I've gone to New York and Birmingham and some other bigger cities, and traveled some for
And I don't particularly like formal gatherings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he never even liked really the company dinners that I would attend for the old mill where I work. It was just... He would do it because he knew those people, and would find the couple of people that he liked to talk to, and they'd hang out, but didn't really like, being there, because usually at stuff like that, I end up being somebody that's running around doing things or being the MC or something, and then he's sitting there by himself.
Or I will sit there like a knot on a log, and I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm going to be like, why am I here?
Yeah.
I could be at home watching a ball game.
So where's some of your favorite places that we've been? Because we like to travel. We like to go.
Well, Jimmy knows.
When we can.
I did like D.C., but the first vacation we took together, do you know where that was?
That was Key West.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no, Myrtle Beach.
Yep,
Myrtle Beach.
Because at that time, I was in a habit of going to the beach just about every year in Myrtle.
Everybody here does. Yeah, everybody here goes to Myrtle Beach.
It's the closest beach. Yeah. And so go to Myrtle Beach. We stayed like 10 days or 11. I don't know how many it was. And it was like 5 days too many. And not
for us.
It was just, we were so tired of eating out. And even though we cooked, we were just ready to come home.
Yeah.
You can only do so much. We shopped and shopped and shopped. And, I'm not beach type people, even though we like the beach atmosphere. You put me on the beach and I'm going to be blistered
Me
in
too.
About 10 to 30 minutes.
Me too.
No more than 30 minutes. So I have to wear the sunblock.
We
the
spent more
sunscreen.
time on the beach after the sun went down,
Yes.
so that we weren't going to get burned.
I do like going out and listening to it roll in and all that and sitting under an umbrella. But after about 2 hours, if I don't get out of it, I'm going to get burnt if I ain't careful. So I have to continually move a chair to stay in the shade. I don't enjoy when it's 90. I don't care if there is a breeze blowing. I do not want to be sitting out there. So we're more of a beach walker after the sun goes down or as it's on a cloudy day. And of course, walking in the sand if I don't have good shoes on bothers my little feet.
Yeah. But our other vacations that we've taken that are long.
We went to Key West was the first one. And that was very much fun.
Yeah. And there was lots to do there. I mean,
lots to do.
At Myrtle Beach, there is lots to do, but
after you
a
do
while,
so much, you're just kind of tired of it. And,
so we like to go to different places, so it's all new.
So Key West, we did enjoy Key West. We went back a second time in 1 year. It was another, but now it's like, I don't know, maybe someday in the wintertime in January, it might be nice to be down there. But we find different places that we would like to go.
We like P-Town. We've been to Provincetown a couple of times.
The whole Cape Cod.
Chatham. All of Cape Cod.
Love Chatham. Go shopping in Chatham if it's rainy. But just Chatham itself was nice. But P-Town is the gem or the crown of that whole area, I think, because there's a lot more there, a lot more to do. It's our kind of people, even though then I will say I don't know if I'd go during festival week.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do the
festival
festivals.
Weeks.
Again, it's just too many people, too expensive.
Yeah, and too expensive. We were going to go 1 year in what they called Bear Week. If you don't know what that is, you can look that up.
Yeah.
We thought, that'll be fun.
Because people told us to come back for that. That was the most fun.
But the prices were double the lodging.
Or triple.
Triple. It was going to be quite a bit. No, thank you. We do much better with just going when there ain't nobody there.
Yeah.
So we went it was after Labor Day. It was after about every month they have 1 or 2 festivals going on. So if you ever go, do not go during that time unless you really do like to be in the middle of a wild. I've heard it can get wild, but I think it just depends on.
I think it's just that there's a lot of people, and you can find whatever.
And so depending on what you want to do or what you want to see, we found you could just sit on a bench and see a lot, and it was just fun.
Oh, we like to do that. We love people watching. We love to sit and just watch people go by and see what they're doing.
That and of course, we were there that first year for 4 days or 4 nights. 4 days, I think.
Yeah.
So we seen the Pilgrim Monument. We went whale watching, which was an amazing experience.
Amazing. The
just amazing. That was probably one of the top experiences we've ever done on vacation as far as visiting places was that.
And we got really lucky on that one. We saw about 25 whales.
Yeah.
Which,
up close.
Yeah. Some of them were really up close.
Up close. It was unreal.
Like Jonah didn't see some of the whales as close as this.
On the way up there, on the flight in, going up there the day before, they had kept saying it was going to rain 100% on the day we had scheduled. And it was supposed to rain all day. So we called and moved our reservation to the next day. And no doubt, make no mistake, it did. It rained from about 9 that morning all the way till 9 or 10 that night. I mean, it was hard rain all day long. Couldn't do much. But,
no, we still went out and we did as much as we could. And by the end of the day, we were soaked and we were cold. And
so the next day, when we went out on the whale watching, the tour guide said yesterday was not good because they went out rain or sun. And she said they went out with a bunch of people. It was in a covered boat, or you could be on the outside boat. My guess, most people were, it rained hard. I think she said they saw 1 whale. And so we got very lucky. I don't know how many we've seen. I lost count. They would go up in the air. They would do, I forget what you call it now, where they come up.
Breach.
The breach.
Yeah, they would breach the water, so they'd be completely out of the water. And
you could see their jaws. Oh my God, they would open their jaws and you're like, that's Jaws. It wasn't what you saw for Jaws.
For that, when you go out whale watching, you're watching them feed. Really, they're eating, and so when they come up to the top of the water, they're coming up to get something to eat.
And then we,
and not us, hopefully.
Well, Jimmy went to some of these places through work, and didn't get mad at him, but I told him, well, you know, whatever.
I got to preview some places that we've been on vacation.
That we had talked about going that we always wanted to go, and I'm like, oh, you're going again.
Yeah.
Because you're not leaving me here and not. was not happy.
So we did that.
Go.
We went through all the way up to Maine for work, and then we went back.
The first year we went to P-Town, and then we went to Maine.
Yeah.
Up the Maine
all the
southeast coast, and
yeah.
all the way up to Bar Harbor.
Yeah.
Stopping at a few places, Algonquin, which we really loved Algonquin.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful area. And then went on up to, I guess, Bar Harbor from there, didn't we? But we went Portland.
Yeah.
We went to Portland.
We stopped in Portland.
We both got COVID.
We did. That was bad.
Well, I don't know when we got it. We were scheduled to come home like the next 2 days
we
from
had
there.
2 or 3 days left. And
Jimmy had COVID, didn't know it. Oh, he couldn't hardly get out of bed. And then the next day, we had called and said, okay, we're just going to go home because we only had a couple of days left. And so I was trying to move the flights up to then. We got them moved up to the next day instead of waiting another day. And the next day I got up and he said he had to have something at McDonald's. I said, I don't feel good. And he opened his McDonald's sandwich and I thought I was going to throw up. The stench coming off that made me almost sick.
I was feeling a little bit better.
Time I got to the airport, I was laying down, got sick in the airport. I did make it to the toilet and could not hold my head up hardly in the airport.
And then got sick on the plane.
And got almost sick on the plane. Thought I was going to pass out. And they didn't have a barf bag.
We think he did pass out maybe for a little bit.
Well, I might have been in the bathroom. I'm not for sure what's going on in there. They give me an ice pack, which seemed to help. But when we got off the plane, I couldn't hardly hold my head up on the plane. Laid down almost all the way home, which is about an hour. And I went to bed.
Yeah.
And I ended up, I think, at the doctor, didn't I? I know I did.
Well, we both got home and still weren't. I wasn't feeling good still, and so we tested, and then sure enough, we found out.
But
we
that
had
was
COVID.
way
after everybody had gone through COVID.
It was way after the shutdowns.
We never thought for a second that we had COVID. Just didn't even enter our minds that it was.
Probably got it on the plane. You know, more likely.
Yeah, somewhere on vacation, definitely.
So don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
So then we went back to P-Town the next year for a whole week, but we managed to drive around the Cape Cod, and went to Chatham and went to Hyannisport and visited with the Kennedys and visited with the Bushes in Kennebunkport, and didn't learn a lot about them, but they were very gracious to have their gates closed.
To let us peer over the fence.
We did wave at them. Didn't see anybody wave back, but we did wave at them. And really, Hyannisport, the Kennedy compound, as they call it, was not.
No, it was really small. Yeah. I mean, just looking at it, the whole area. Somebody came out and kind of looked at us like, what are you doing down this road that said private drive? And we were just turning around. But yeah, it was all fenced off, and you could see a little bit into it, but it wasn't nearly as big as I thought. Not as big as any movie had ever portrayed it to be.
Because the media and stuff, when they would take pictures or they would do flyovers, they're getting it from the ocean side, and it looks so much bigger. It's really,
and it looks like it's out there in private, like they're on acres and acres of land, but it's not.
There's homes right beside of them.
The Kennedys had neighbors, still have neighbors.
Very close to them at that. That's a very compact area.
Yeah.
And then we did go to D.C. The Holocaust Memorial was very...
Yeah, we did a vacation in D.C. That was
really liked it. That, of course, that's where we got married in 2013, but you forgot that.
I didn't forget nothing.
You did. And went back, and the second go-around we stayed in D.C. The first time we were in Alexandria.
Yeah. And the second time we went back is when we got married.
Yes.
Yeah. Our first time was we went on vacation, and so Mick had seen that Fleetwood Mac was going to be on tour, and he said he was looking it up. We were traveling to go see a friend of mine. We were on the road, and he's bored and on his phone, and he goes, "Hey, Fleetwood Mac is going on tour again."
Yeah, that excited Jimmy a lot.
I mean,
Jimmy's
Stevie Nicks.
Real music. Yes.
I grew up with Stevie Nicks. He grew up with Fleetwood Mac.
Both of them.
But anyway, I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and get some tickets. Where's it going to be at? And he goes, oh, it's going to be in D.C. Okay, it'll be fun. I'd been to D.C. I grew up near there, so I'd been many times, but he'd never been. So I said, go ahead and...
Me.
I know it is, but I'm telling the story.
Well.
No, hush, I'm talking. And so he buys the tickets, and he starts looking at hotels. And when he first looks at hotels in D.C., it would say like it was $130 a night. Well, that's not too bad. We could do that. When he actually got in there and started booking the dates, it went to $400 and $500 a night. And we're like, what in the world? So I said, when is this concert again? And I realized that it was during the Cherry Blossom Festival. So if you grew up anywhere on the East Coast, you knew about the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC. And the whole festival's like 6 weeks long, but there's a week where they have a huge parade in town and the cherry blossoms are in full bloom and there are millions and millions of people visiting. And that was that week. So the concert was at the end of that week.
But
so
it was beautiful.
It was amazing, really amazing time to go.
We have found that no matter how hard we try, we can never duplicate some of those memories, and probably a good thing we can't. But that was gorgeous. We hit it. It was peak cherry blossom. Beautiful weather. I don't think it rained not one day the whole time we were there. 70-some degrees, 80 degrees. Although the paddle boats, unless you're really in shape, we're not doing those paddle boats
ever again.
We couldn't hardly walk for a day or two, and that just
we thought we were going to drown on the tidal pool.
Yeah. So we are not fans of paddle boats. Now, if somebody else wants to paddle, and okay, we'll do that. We'll get out the sunscreen. We'll get out the hats, and sometimes that's just more challenge than it's worth. But we're not water people.
Well, guys, I had enough of that episode with Mick, sitting down and recording with him, that I'm breaking this up into 2 episodes. So check back with us, and I'm gonna air these maybe back to back, but I may break them up and air them at different times. So thanks for joining us for the first episode with Mick, and come back and hear the second one. Well, friends, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to the Appalachian Tale Podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy Prophet. This podcast is recorded in Greenhouse Studio right here in my backyard and produced and edited by me with a little help and a lot of encouragement from my husband, Mick. You might know him as Mick on the Porch. If you've enjoyed today's episode, like, rate, and comment, and share it with someone who appreciates a good story, good food, and a little bit of Appalachia. I'll talk at you later. Y'all be safe, and let me know you got home okay.